Hello everyone, welcome back. Once again, welcome to my channel judicious IELTS and Immigration and to my classes. My name is Patnaik and I am your IELTS and PTE trainer. In today's episode, it is the continuation of the previous episode 7, in which I discussed about the writing of task 1, graph writing. And today I will be discussing about writing of a table, how to write a table, how to plan a table. Alright, so before going to that, my request to all of you, please subscribe to my channel, and those who are new to my channel, if you like, definitely don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to hit the like button. Right now you can follow us on my Facebook pages also. There are 3 different pages we have got. It's created for different purposes. You can visit these pages. This will give you a lot of information, right? And we're trying to update every day, right? So this is the question, my dear students. So today's table is based on this. The table below gives information on consumer spending on different items in 5 different countries in 2002, and the heading is percentage of national consumer expenditure by category 2002. And in the table, the columns are displaying as the name of countries, and then the food, drinks, subject tobacco in the first column. Second column is clothing and footwear, and third column is leisure / education. And the under country heading, the countries are Ireland, Italy, Spain, Sweden and Turkey. Now we have to plan based on this table, right? So everyone has got their own planning, their own this thing, but the common thing is that we have to follow the guidelines of the band descriptors, right? We have to keep all those factors of band descriptor in our mind, and then we will plan the writing. So writing, the data may differ, but the strategy of writing will almost remain same. What we have to cover in our introduction, and what we have to cover in overview, and what we have to cover in BP1 and BP2, those things will be same. Those things will be based on the concept of band descriptors, right? So before going to that, now the planning we will be just I have written what to plan, how to plan, right? Intro, what intro should contain, right? A short description about the table and about the task, right? A short description about the table and about the task. So that means, if I go back and show you in intro what things we are going to cover: the categories, the name of the countries, the heading part, right? These 3 things are main. These 3 things we will be covering in our intro, right? So my dear friends, please refer to my previous video about intro, in which I have clearly mentioned, and I have mentioned everything about how to plan a good intro to get the maximum score in intro, right? So these are the things we have to follow. So definitely don't forget to watch that video. Those who have not watched that video, please watch that video also. You will get a lot of idea about how to plan the intro, right? And then the second one is overview. What overview says is summary about the data or information given in the table, 2 or 3 lines, right? A summary. I'm going back and see overview. What we will be covering? We will covering the names of the countries, right, which are displaying the maximum figures or any drastic changes, right? Any drastic changes of the highest or lowest. But we in this overview we are not going to mention any kind of figures, right? Because figures are figures will be mentioned in our body parts, right? So don't mention any kind of figure in your overview, right? Then next, BP1. See BP1, how the planning will be based on the content mentioned in the first part of the overview. BP1 will contain the relevant information, right? So what kind of information you are going to cover in BP1? The first statement of your overview, you will be writing about that statement, details about that statement, right? That statement in your BP1, right? The reason is to establish the cohesion or linking among the paragraphs. Similarly for BP2, the second part of your overview will be elaborated in detail in BP2, right? Based on the content mentioned in the second part of the overview, BP2 will be contain the relevant information, right? Reason is to establish the cohesion or linking among the paragraphs, right? So this is the main plan. This is the idea. Now we will go back to the table, and we will see. First we have to plan about the intro, then overview, and then the body part 1 and body part 2. The intro, what it says, we have to cover the heading part, the categories and the countries, right? So I have written already the intro part and I am displaying the intro part. The table displays the information about the percentage of expenditure in three different countries, in three different categories by the consumers of 5 different countries in 2002. See, now we'll see whether I have covered almost all the main items for the intro or not, right? So the question says percentage of national consumer expenditure by category 2002. 5 countries are there, 3 categories. So 3 categories and 5 countries I have covered here, and the percentage of expenditure also I have covered, and the year also I have covered. That means I have covered almost all the things as per the requirement of the intro, right? Now the second part is overview. Now what overview says? Overview is the summary of our task, main task, right? The task, the table is there. The summary, if I want to discuss about summary, means what the things we can cover. We can see, we have to plan about our overview based on 2 or 3 lines, not more than that, right? Because if we are planning for 2 lines, that means the first line will elaborate, will have a link, will keep a link with the BP1, and the second line will keep a link with the BP2, right? So accordingly we have to plan. Right, so now what I want to do is I will be covering these 2 categories in my first paragraph and this last category in my second paragraph. See, you may cover as you wish, right? That's a different thing, but the planning is the planning will remain same, right? Linking, the planning is the main reason behind this planning is how to establish linking, how to maintain linking throughout the writing task, right? So what here I'm planning is I will go with these 2 categories first in the first paragraph, and the in my second body paragraph I will go with the last column or the last category, right? So accordingly, what overview I have written is, it is clear from the table that people from 5 countries spend their largest proportion of food in food, drink and tobacco, followed by clothing and footwear, whereas proportion of expenditure for leisure and education has the lowest percentage in the table. See, this is what it is saying, right? Food, drinks and tobacco, the maximum proportion of these consumers, they're spending maximum portion in this particular category, followed by the second category is this one, right? If you compare the table, you will see these 2 main things, right? And then the last one is leisure and education, which they are spending the least, right? So that is what I've mentioned here without any data figures, without any figures, just I summarized the entire thing in this overview. Now the second plan begins. Now BP1, what I have to write in BP1? BP1 I have to mention about these 2 categories, because my first line is talking about these 2 categories, right? The highest one, the maximum expenditure, and the followed by the second category, right? So that is what I'm going to cover in my BP1. So my BP1 will be in this way. See, among these 5 countries, right, I'm talking about the all the key features. See, now the key features comes, the point of key features comes. See, those who have not seen my overview video, you can watch the overview video also. Just click on the link on the above, you will get the video, right? Before, if you have not watched my overview video, my request to you is that please watch once, then you will have an idea about how to plan the overview, right? Similar. Now come back to the BP1. Now BP1, in BP1, see, as I earlier told you that we have to establish the link, we have to maintain the cohesion throughout the write-up. So my first sentence is talking about these 2 categories. So in BP1 I will plan to write about those 2 categories only, right? Among the 5 countries, the consumers of Turkey and Ireland spend a significant proportion of their spending in, sorry, here double N is there, in food, drink and tobacco, which is 32.14% and 28.94% respectively, compared with other 3 countries whose proportion of spendings was less than 19%. See, this is what I covered. I covered these maximum 2 figures, and then all for these 3 key features I have written less than 19%. That means for this column I covered almost all the data items, right? Similarly, however, consumers of Italy spend a significant percentage, that is 9%, towards clothing and footwear. Now I came to the second category, right, where 9% is the maximum one which was spent by Italians, right? Italian towards clothing and footwear. In the meantime, Ireland, Spain, Sweden and Turkey consumers spend less than 7% towards their clothing and footwear. So I took all of them into one category which is below 7%. So as per the first line, of overview, it has established link in my BP1 which further elaborates the data, the figures in detail, right? So this is the end of BP1. Now in BP2 I have to concentrate on my last category, that is leisure and education. So now we will discuss about the BP2. The BP2, what BP2 says is, in case of leisure and education, I started with in case of leisure and education because my second part of my overview, it is talking about expenditure for leisure and education. So now it is logically, it is linked with the second statement. So in case of leisure and education, the expenditure from almost all the countries were low except Turkey, followed by Sweden and Italy. See what I have taken from here. I took 4.35, which belongs to Turkey, is the maximum, and then 3.22 and 3.20. I have taken these three figures as the higher side, and then I mentioned about the lowest one, right? So whose expenses were recorded at 4.35%, 3.22% and 3.20%. The lowest figure for this category, see, this is called back reference, right? This category, which category I'm talking? I'm talking about leisure and education. So this category will refer to leisure and education. This category was from Spain, which figured at 1.98% only. So this is the end of the task 1 writing. So total how many words I took? It took 182 words only. So 182 words within the range, right? So this task, if I talk about the summary of this task, now we will be discussing about the summary of the task. See, the summary of task says, introduction covers all the aspects of the graph: who, what, where, when, and etc. I tried to cover all these things in my introduction, right? If you see the introduction, the table displays the information about the percentage of expenditure in 3 different categories by the consumers of 5 different countries. So who is the subject here, what they have done, and what is given, everything is covered in this intro part. Then overview covered the main trend and mentioned the major changes, right? So I tried to cover the first 2 categories in my first paragraph, and first section of my overview, and the second section I covered the last category, right? And then BP1 started with logical link to the first sentence of the overview. Cohesive devices were used judiciously. I tried not to repeat the connectors again and again, right? So I tried to use different connectors just to show that I can establish link while writing the task, right? And then BP2 started the logical link to the second statement in the overview. Connectors and back referencing also used without any ambiguities. Remember, while using back reference, that is what I told here, the lowest figures for this category, right? For this category, it should be clear. It must be clear to the examiner that about which category I'm talking here, right? So this paragraph is started with the words that, like, in case of leisure and education. That means I'm talking about leisure and education category. So this category refers to leisure and education, right? So this is totally clear, no ambiguity, no doubts are there. So this way we have to plan our writing. So see, I have not used any what we can say, any big vocabs or any complex vocabs. I tried to use simple vocabs and with direct meaning, and the meaning is very simple and to the point, and I try to use them at their proper places just to communicate my ideas to the examiner or to the readers. So this is the way you have to plan your writing. So guys, happy writing. This is the end of my example 2, episode 8, in which this topic is about the consumer goods, right? It's about the table, how to write a table, right? How to plan a table. So just see the categories, just analyze the categories and see the things. Try to cover almost all the things so that we should not lose any bands while planning our key features, because key features you have to cover almost all the key features. If you're not covering all the key features, then you're going to lose your score, right? So this is my office address in Sirsa, right? So once again, thank you guys, thank you for watching. Have a nice day and stay safe at home, right? That is important. That is what important nowadays. Be safe and take care of yourself.